Hey guys, Walton here. Just wanted to give you 2 items for this week's episode. First is, our topic is the XFL this week, so we talk a lot of football, more so than wrestling, but we try to tie it in pretty well. There's a couple pretty funny statements that are made throughout the whole thing, so definitely still worth the listen, even though it's mostly about football this week. The second is, we recorded this podcast on July 4th. This is getting released on July 10th, so if any news kind of came out between the 4th and the 10th, we were kind of unaware, so hopefully none of this is outdated by the time it gets released, but if it is, still a fun episode to listen to. So with that being said, enjoy this week's episode of Abram Work Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rest Pass episode 18. Is this 18? No, it's not? Alright, perfect. Welcome to episode 18 of Apron Work Podcast with Chubb Boys, Rest Pass, Peach, and Walton. But, again, another week in a row, Peachy is not here.
Then why'd you say Peach?
Well, it's because it's an easy flow to get into. I'm just so accustomed to it. That's why it came in.
You didn't say this last episode.
Yeah, well, it's because we had Greg on, and I had to impress him. I'm hoping one day he can show me how to be an actual host of a podcast. But, with that being said, Peachy, again, is not here. He's on sabbatical from the podcast. He's out just sitting in his room watching the WWE Network 24/7, 365, learning everything. He has a subscription to New Japan World and Honor Club. So, figured we bring in another special guest. So, let's see. Is our special guest here this week? Special guest, can you hear me?
Chit chit!
Yeah, boy! Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Matt Ficco to the podcast this week.
Yo!
Ficco, how you feeling today, bud?
I'm doing great, my brother. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you
nice
for
to be
welcoming me
here.
to my podcast. Thank you. That's so
I
nice.
figured I welcome you, welcome Mike. You know, I can see you both on the screen. It's lovely, and we're ready to go here.
We are. Now we are. Nah, Ficco is here this week, talking in. Phil, we got a fun topic. We're going to talk about the XFL this week. So what better than the three commissioners of the League of... What is it?
So, ladies and gentlemen.
League of Ladies and
How do
Gentlemen?
you not know this?
God,
We just told you before
We
this
just...
started.
Yes.
Guys, it's a character I play up for the show. I'm not this dumb. We know this.
Well, okay.
But we figured we're the three commissioners of a football league, so fantasy football league. What better three people than to talk about the previous version of the XFL and the current version of the XFL? Oh, don't get your championship belt, asshole. Oh, so in our League of Sleaze and Gentlemen, we decided, we started this 5 or 6 years ago, I forget what the hell it was. We purchased from a website a fantasy football championship title. And RestPass is the champion of the league and is currently wearing it.
And as you can tell, he puts it in a safe place in the kids' room with all the toys. So
This is not the kids' room. This is my office.
your
with
office.
all the
I don't know.
Christmas toys hidden in here.
I see board
Because-
games in the background, so I
Yes,
thought it was
we
the kids' room.
we did our Christmas shopping already at Toys R Us. Thank you, 80% off.
Hey, holla.
So this door gets locked when I'm not in it.
Yeah,
There you
So
go.
that's why there's toys all over the place.
yeah, my door
And some of my toys.
gets locked too, but that's because I live with my mom, so. Either way. But yeah, no, so XFL. So we'll kind of jump right into the topic, unless do we want to argue about any of fantasy football rule changes before we go into the XFL? We'll do it in front of the public. No,
we're just
good.
going to try to
All
take
right.
the belt off Mike this year.
Oh yeah. Well, I already took it off him
Yeah.
once, so join the club, Ficco.
I'm trying, man.
Yeah. Well,
So
he was unsuccessful this year when he tried to do it. So
That was 2 years ago, man.
was that Eric
the
Berry?
year you tried to do it, you were unsuccessful.
Was that Eric Berry?
Yeah.
Yes,
Half
that,
point.
that was
Half
Eric.
point.
Yeah.
Half point. Let's not talk about it. Let's move on.
Alrighty, XFL. I feel like I'm constantly saying XFL. So the idea of the topic came from Mike, and this was news I had missed apparently during the week, which was kind of surprising on my point. But Mike, what happened with the XFL? What was the news that you saw that kind of brought this up as a good idea for a topic this week?
Well, the original rumor was that Vince McMahon, when he was selling stock, he was putting $100 million into the league to start it up. And everybody kind of made a big deal, like, wow, he's putting that much money into it. And it actually had just come out recently that that number is closer to 500 million, not 100 million. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting. We got Ficco on here, you know. Like you said, we are the co-commissioners of a fantasy football league. So, obviously, one of us has football knowledge because they've won 3 out of 6 years. But, you know, we'll do a little crossover. Football and wrestling, 2 things PG does not know anything about, like video games and wrestling last week. So it worked out well that this news dropped around this time.
So before we move into the current version of the XFL, which is coming in 2020, let's always take a look and appreciate our past. And that inaugural season of the XFL in 2001. Quick question, let's start it off. Who won the inaugural championship in the XFL?
I want to say it was the LA team, I believe.
Whoever.
Tommy Maddox was the quarterback.
I was going to say Tommy. I don't know. Did Tommy Maddox's team win? I know he won the MVP of the league.
I mean, there was only 8 teams. I think it was only, 8 teams? I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yep, there were 8 teams. Mike, do you have a guess?
Arizona, if there was one.
There was not one. Fico was right. It was the Los Angeles Extreme. Quarterbacked by your league Maddox. MVP, Tommy Maddox.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought they didn't win it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, only 2 players really came out of that league that year. It was Tommy Maddox, and then a future Eagle,
Rod Smart.
He hate me. Rod Smart. That's right.
Well, there were actually like looking through this, there were probably about looks like 30 people that ended up playing in the NFL. There were
but 2 that you actually remember.
Yeah,
though.
There were 10 or was it 2, 4, 6, 8, 9? 9.
Tommy Maddox.
Yeah, Tommy Maddox. There were 5 people. There were 10 players that played in a Super Bowl. Rod Smart, including one of those. And then there were actually 6 players that won a Super Bowl. But I don't know any of these other. Ron Carpenter, Fred Coleman, Corey Ivy, David Ritchie, Bobby Singh. No idea who any of those were.
None of them sound familiar at all.
Tommy Maddox is one of...
If Corey Ivy was a defensive back, I may have heard of him. But that's the only one I can think of.
Let me... let's check this out for you, Mike. Let's see... he is a cornerback.
There you go.
There you
go. So the XFL. So I was like doing some research into this episode. I didn't realize a lot of the things that they kind of had rules set up. So there were the general rules they had set up to where players could have nicknames on their jerseys, which was fun. You see like baseball and I think even like the NBA doing kind of similar things on one-off games, to where they can kind of customize it however they want. You had the opening scramble, which was the best thing.
Now, real quick, do you remember what happened on the first one? The dude broke his arm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the opening one, they started at the 35-yard line. They ran to the 50. The guy broke his arm. All to choose if they can either receive the ball or kick the ball.
It was fun. So this was interesting. I didn't know this. In their inaugural year, they only played on grass stadiums. They didn't play in artificial turf.
How about that?
I was just like, wow, because it was 2001, so artificial turf was so shitty. Wasn't that
Well, I mean, yeah, the vet.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
The vet closed a year later. So, I remember when the Eagles had trouble that one preseason game, they had to cancel because of the turf.
Yeah.
So it was probably like a little bit behind its time when it came to the turf and all that.
But yeah, it was interesting that was one of their rules. They had no point after touchdown kicks.
Which I like, and which I hope they keep.
I do like that. I'm just looking through some of the other rules now.
I think it was only one foot down to get a catch. So it was like college in that aspect. It wasn't 2 feet like the NFL.
Yes. The
And if you remember, now I know we talked about before the show, Walt, that you didn't watch the 30 for 30. Mike, did you watch the 30 for 30 on the XFL?
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, remember that was the start of that on the field camera that they use.
I was just
now
about to bring that up. The sky cam.
Yeah,
You talking about the overview.
That is
the sky cam. But the XFL had the guy on the team, or the guy on the field, that was from the WWE. I forget what his name was, but I don't know if they call it like the boom cam or something like that. But that was like Vince McMahon's like really good camera guy from WWE. That was on the field getting trash on the field.
I was gonna say, didn't he like use the line up behind the line?
He was like in the huddle and then behind the quarterback.
Back behind, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about something else. I just realized it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where the idea came to have the camera, like they do in the NFL now, in the sky that comes down, opening of the game and all that stuff. So
it is.
That's where all that came from.
So now, I don't think either of you guys would know this, but I felt like, again, doing some research into this. Do you know who one of the broadcasters was for the XFL? That is...
Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember his name because I'm pretty sure he's featured heavily in the 30 for 30.
Yeah,
I don't think he was in the 30 for 30. This is more so for us being in the Philadelphia area. Why I'm bringing this up as like an interesting fact.
Okay.
Was Joey Styles one of them?
No. No.
I'm trying to think.
Mike Adamle was, though, so fuck him.
Well, I remember they had like Jim Ross do a game, didn't they?
Yeah, it was.
They had Matt Riskerson, who does ESPN Sunday Night Baseball now, but they got rid of him because Vince McMahon didn't like what he was doing or whatever.
Well, the one I was talking about was Michael Barkan.
Oh, no crap, really? I did not know that at all.
On the UPN network, to throw it back, to put it
UPN, Channel 57, let's go!
Put it in the Wayback Machine. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Apparently,
I did not know that.
Yeah, Barkan was a commentator for it. That's about it. Obviously, his career moved up of hosting Philly Sports Talk Live, but...
Sure, and he also does a lot of tennis, Barkan.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he may have been like an on-the-field reporter. If the order is going... If you look at all the other ones, well, I'm assuming you're using the extremely reliable source of Wikipedia like I am.
Yes.
If you go through and you see the different teams where you got like Ross, Lawler, Coachman, I'm assuming Coachman was the on-the-field person for them,
Yeah.
So if you go down the line, like Brian Bosworth was an ex-player, so he's the Jerry Lawler of that. There's Chris Marlowe. Don't know who he is, but I'm assuming that's who was actually the guy. So Barkan might have actually been on the field reporter for them.
Yeah, probably. So then it looks like the failure of the XFL looks like NBC and WWF each lost $35 million off of the game. And yeah, it was basically just a crapshoot. I think so. Any reason why you guys think it was a major crapshoot? Do you think it was because of the association with professional wrestling that nobody took it seriously?
Mike, you can go first.
You mean what made it a risk, or why did it fail?
Why did it fail, essentially?
I mean, again, watching a 30 for 30, it makes this answer easier.
Yeah, you guys have more info there than I do.
But to be honest with you, there was two huge things, and it was obvious at the time. One, they were having their games on Saturday night when Saturday Night Live was coming on, and who the hell was getting, obviously Saturday Night Live is not going to lose out in that, because what was it? Wasn't it? And Fick, you might remember his 30 for 30 a little bit better than me, but didn't the one game got cut off?
Well, so what happened was during the middle of the game, the power went out. And all the towers and all this stuff was something, and it was actually it was a real easy fix, but it ran late, and they cut it off because Jennifer Lopez or whoever was hosting Saturday Night Live. So they didn't get to see the end of like a really like probably the best game in the season. I think it was L.A. and somebody because it was Tommy Maddox, and they were like down by a lot, and they came back, but no one got to see it because it cut to Saturday Night Live.
It was L.A. Extreme versus the Chicago Enforcers.
Oh, it might have been. I think that was the championship. Was it not the championship? That was a championship game, but we might have played one in season 2.
No, the championship was San Francisco and L.A.
Okay.
And L.A. won 38-6.
Yeah, the kicker got MVP of the game for the championship game.
But and I said there was 2 things, Walt, and I'm actually going to say 3 things now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. I know. This is going to throw the timing off. The second thing that I was going to say was they tried to make it to, like... I still remember that one where they went into the locker room and it was like a dream sequence and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like that's what they did on this. Like they were so desperate to bring in the wrestling fans that they were completely alienating the football fans, and that's what they needed for this. They didn't need the wrestling fans. Wrestling fans weren't going to come to this regardless. They needed football fans, and they completely alienated them with making it fake. I mean, the games weren't fake, but they were making everything else around it fake, which then started making you second guess, like, are the games fixed too? And then lastly, the one thing I wanted to add on, if I remember right, they said they didn't have time to train.
They
put them on the teams. No, they put them on the teams. Like, they announced it was happening, and then like they got the teams together, and I think it all happened like in a 6-month like span. Like, it all happened quick. Where now that's why they're doing so far out this time around, because they're trying to give it time to do it right. But if I remember right, it happened quick. And I think they make reference to that in the 30 to 30. Like, the football was sloppy. They didn't have time to train.
Yeah, just looking at what reliable source Wikipedia says, it was founded in '99, and the inaugural season was in 2001. And based off the games, it was early. It was right after football season, so it was in February when the season started. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure they only had like a month of training camp.
Jesus.
Not even. Yeah. Probably not even.
Just because it was founded 2 years before.
Well, so now looking into
they had to,
it was. It looks like it was announced in February 3rd, 2000. So that means 1 year to put together a league. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wow. I didn't even. Yeah. Holy shit, that's terrible.
They had their draft October 28, 2000.
Oh, that's perfect.
So that's when they had the draft for their players.
That
So that was the biggest thing. We're now. I mean, we'll get into this more later, and I know we want to kind of keep a little bit onto the wrestling part of this and not the football part of this, because it's not a football podcast. But right now they're competing with more than just the NFL, and we'll get into that more when we get into the new one. But
let's
anything else you have on the first one?
Yeah, I said let's just jump over to the new one, because there's not really much else to talk about, like other than the failure. I mean, the highlights of it were I think, at least to me, were all the general ones, where the dude breaking his arm in that opening scramble, the custom name jerseys. Like, I like that the actual like other sports teams now are doing that. Like NBA.
Yeah, I can add on to a little bit about what Mike said. I specifically remember, like, they had all those promos of like the cheerleaders in the locker rooms, and like as Mike said, they turned it more into wrestling than they did football. So no one was you put on and you expect a football game, and you're seeing all this garbage out there, and the garbage was it was bad football. So no one watched it, and they had all these sexiest promos. They brought like Jerry the King Lawler in, to do promos and stuff like that. I remember seeing that on the 30 for 30, and it just never clicked. That's all.
Yeah, I remember
all I got to say about that.
Well, I remember too. It was like I remember that like first game. Like it was such a big deal. Like I think it had like a huge television ratings for like the very first game. and it started
Into the first 2 weeks, it dropped off.
Oh yeah, it dropped
That
off.
was it.
The opening night drew a 9.5 Nelson rating, which is like a normal Raw deals like in like the threes. Like if it gets a 3, that's a great week. It normally deals in like the 2.5s to like to threes. And then yeah, it just dropped down to 4.6 a week after. Oh, man, it was shit. I will say, oh god, Mike.
I was just gonna say, and that goes to my point a little bit ago. They aim towards the wrestling crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Those first ratings proved that football fans want football all year round. If you're going to give them relatively good football, people are going to watch. But they want it relatively similar to what they see, which is why arena football doesn't work, because arena football is basically like playing NFL Street. It's just not.
Yeah,
the
pretty
same.
much.
But they want at least good football, and then you put it on there, and you start getting all these stupid segments and promotions for wrestling, and then they have like The Rock come out and say something. I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying they throw wrestlers out there and stuff like that. Like it makes it a joke.
Yeah, it does.
He was on the field.
Completely different audiences.
I remember him on the mic on the field saying, if you smell what the XFL is cooking, and I was like, yeah, I'm out. Like, because
there is a very small portion of us that enjoy football and wrestling. It's not that big of an audience.
I will disagree with that. I'd say
but I just feel like you can't combine them though. That was the main problem with the whole thing.
You think there is a huge audience that loves both?
I think it's bigger than what you're saying.
Now, how small?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a small fraction. I guarantee.
Let's throw out let's throw out a number. So let's say there's 100,000 wrestling fans. How many of those are pro football fans and wrestling fans out of 100,000? Just to give an idea of like a percentage of what you're thinking.
I'm like kind of in the middle with these on this. I would say probably around 60, 70. But like if you look at NFL fans and WWE fans, it's the same age range. Like who watches?
Yes.
Like guys our age watch football. Guys our age watch wrestling. That is the main age group for both of those.
And that's where I'm going to disagree. That's where I'm going to disagree with this. The main age group for wrestling is kids.
Oh, I totally disagree with that. No, it's not.
That's the main age group. That's why it's
guys your age, Mike.
Kids. No, it's not.
Yes,
the main.
It is.
You say the majority of wrestling fans is my age.
Who do they appeal to? They appeal to guys our age. They don't appeal to kids anymore. They never have.
John Cena absolutely is aimed
towards.
All
right, name somebody else besides John Cena.
Roman Reigns is absolutely aimed towards adult males.
So real fast, before we go any deeper, this is exactly what I wanted having Ficco on the podcast, so thank you. Boys, go at it.
What? No, I'm just saying,
the majority of wrestling fans are A, foreigners who don't like professional football, or B, kids. And when I say majority, I'm not saying 90%. But let's say half. But
you're saying more than half are kids, and I would totally disagree with that.
Look
how many wrestlers
right now. When you go
to WrestleMania, you guys were in Dallas. Who was half the crowd? Guys your age, no doubt about it.
But Fick, look at it. Would I pay $4,000 or $5,000 more for my 10-year-old kid to come with me to WrestleMania? Absolutely not. Will I pay $50 more to go to Royal Rumble? Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't take a kid to a Royal Rumble. No, that's hollow ground.
I'm saying as an adult, you're more likely, if you hate wrestling but your kid loves it, they're getting two people right there. Because you're going to bring your kid. You're going to. But you're not going to WrestleMania. You're not bringing it to WrestleMania.
Unless
they don't care about that.
Unless it's in your town.
Yeah. Because WrestleMania will sell out regardless. They could put a big pile of shit in the middle of the ring for 6 hours, and it'll sell out.
Mike, they did that. It was called WrestleMania 32. Okay? like we were there for that big pile of shit. We were there for that. They've already done that.
But
so hold
honestly,
on.
WrestleMania is more the experience. WrestleMania is more the experience. NXT is for us. NXT is for our range. The WWE is for kids, because if you get the kids into it, the parents got to take them. And now you're selling twice, 3 times as much as you would. And that's why they sell to it. I'm not saying everything they do is aimed towards it, but it's definitely towards kids. And let's say half of wrestling fans are kids and people who don't watch football, like foreigners, who their football is soccer. So now you're telling me 50% of those people that are in our range, older, whatever, are all football fans? I mean, kids ain't really football fans.
Well, I just want to say...
Most kids are football fans if their parents are.
I just want to say for all of our foreign fans, no, your football is football. I respect that. We're not talking soccer.
Well, I will pronounce it correctly. Football.
So
we are not speaking football.
So,
and I'm not saying there's not people out there that don't enjoy American football. But I'm not talking about the wrestling, the football crossover. I'm talking about the other way around. I would say there is a very small percentage of hardcore NFL fans who really care that much about wrestling.
Okay, I thought the way you initially phrased it, I thought you had that flipped.
No, I said both ways. I'm talking about both sides. You're talking about hardcore wrestling fans. I'm not talking about casual. I'm not talking about you,
filthy
Vic.
casual.
I'm not talking about peachy.
Filthy casual.
I'm talking about hardcore fans. I'm putting more like me, Walton, Jer Culver, who was on the episode, Greg Hall. I'm putting us, and Greg's probably worse than the rest of us because he watches every episode of stuff. I read the results for everything except for NXT. But I'm talking hardcore wrestling fans, hardcore NFL fans. That crossover is very minimal.
All right, fair enough. So to tie that into the next one, the new XFL. Is that crossover going to be there? Do you think, with everything they're setting up? So, like you said, Mike, earlier, McMahon has put $500 million of his own money into this already. It's 2 years out. It's starting in 2020. No real time frame other than 2020 starting. I'm assuming most likely it's going to start right around the Super Bowl, end of the NFL season. But he pulled it. He sold WWE stock, and it was actually funny. So I didn't see the article you read, Mike, but I was reading other articles about WWE's general stock of how much it's gone up since the Fox deal and the new NBC deal. And if McMahon would have waited like 6 more months, he would have made an additional like $200 million on the stock he sold because of how much the stock has gone up. Which that is like we did a stocks episode and like how the stock's going up. Like I still cannot believe how well the WWE stock is doing. It's like $72 or I'm looking.
But it makes sense.
It does.
And also, if this proves anything, though, it proves that they probably weren't trying to leave USA. It probably was USA that said they don't want SmackDown, and then Fox jumped in.
Yeah.
If to me, if this proves anything, it's that. They probably would have used Fox for leverage to get USA, which they tried to do, to get USA to pay a shit ton for Raw and SmackDown. And they only paid it for Raw.
Yeah. But so WWE stock price right now, I guess at the close yesterday, was $74, which is absurd to me that's where this company is at. A pro wrestling company. The publicly traded company. But with that being said, so the XFL is not a part of this. So WWE stock did not take a hit when McMahon announced the XFL because of how much he just completely separated, did a new company. I watched the press conference. I think I watched it live or just right afterwards and rewatched it. And like he said, like that whole crossover between like having The Rock on the field, if you smell what the XFL is cooking, stuff like that. It sounds like that's not going to be a part of it. It's just going to be a completely separate thing that just happens to be founded by Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon is not going to have a real hand in a lot of the like day-to-day stuff with it. Like it seems.
Yeah, well, he's trying to make it a legit football league. Like he put Andrew Luck's father. He's in charge of it. Oliver Luck. He left the NCAA to be the CEO and commissioner of this league. So it's like, all that stuff. And you gotta remember too, guys, when we forgot to mention this, is that when the XFL was first around, that was in the middle of the Attitude Era. So that's why they brought all that other stuff along with them. All that extra bullcrap that they had on the field, okay?
Yeah.
And all the promos with the sexy cheerleaders and all that stuff. This is actually going to try to be a legit league with, like, legit players. Like, I even read a couple days ago that they're even trying to guys that have criminal backgrounds are out. They're not even gonna. They're not even gonna attempt to have them in the league. You got no shot.
He said that in his initial
being in the league.
In his initial press conference. My only issue with that is, and his hardline stance was, it's like, it seems like if a guy got busted for pot 7 years ago, he's out. And I'm like, yeah. What bothered me with that statement is they're gonna fall back on it, or they're gonna go back on it just because of simple things like that. I think it's a great idea, especially if you have domestic abuse and all that kind of stuff. Get that out. Don't bring them in, but they're gonna have to reevaluate that policy for a guy that gets busted for pot, or silly things like that. Which I hate them saying getting arrested.
Well, you got to think too. Eventually, that the weed is all going to be legal anyway, so that might just get scratched right there. But you're like you say, you're talking about abuse or a gun charge or whatever, all that stuff. They're probably going to try to keep legit, but really with him selling all the stock, he's trying to be legit. He put the article I read, it's like $10 million of it is just for health insurance in general.
Tim Tebow
he's really trying to do that.
I think I seen it was $10 million a year, if I remember.
Correct. Yeah.
Tim Tebow is essentially the poster child for this league,
and he won't. He
won't play.
Well,
he made the All-Star team in the AA, man. Come on.
I don't even get into that.
I'm gonna say one thing about what he said. Vince McMahon purely said that at that time because NFL fans were getting pissed at the NFL for not coming down hard on these guys, so he wanted to take a stance because he's trying to be, hey, you guys want this, I hear you. Now, when a Johnny Manziel says, hey, I want to play in your league, and their ratings are faltering, they'll sign him right away.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it means to get ratings, he'll bring it in, and he won't care at that point. But right now, when the league's 2 years out, he's going to take that hard stance because people are going to be you know what? That's what I want. I want them saying no kneeling. I want them saying this because that's all the stuff he took. There's no politics. We won't show. We won't do this. We won't allow this. All this other stuff. We'll write this in the rules. He did it purposely to kind of latch on to the people that were pissed at the NFL.
Yeah, he was targeting a lot of hot topic issues for that had come out recently. Like you said, the whole political stance stuff, the domestic abuse, those were two big things that the NFL was getting criticized for. That makes sense that he jumped on it.
Before we get into what we think the league's going to be and stuff, I do want to say one thing: they're fucked. They're fucked.
Well, that's a pretty one thing statement. You want to elaborate?
I was going to,
okay.
But yes, they've already failed. Already. This league's going to be nothing. They need to incorporate wrestling stuff. They need to make it something with that. Purely because they're going to be in direct competition at the same time with a league that's already more established than them, is a year earlier.
Is this the AFL?
It's the AAF.
Oh, yeah, I forgot what it was
called. The Alliance
of
American Football will be starting in 2019 with Bill Polian, Troy Polamalu, Heinz Ward, Justin Tuck, and Dick Ebersol. Who, if you've seen the 30 for 30, he was partners with Vince with the XFL, which is funny that now the XFL with Vince is in direct competition with Dick Ebersol's AAF. But not only that, Steve Spurrier is a coach in Florida. Mike Vick is an offensive coordinator in Atlanta. They already have the cities that probably the XFL would have wanted already taken. Mike Martz is a coach in San Diego. Brad Childress is actually the head coach in Atlanta. Mike Singletary, These are all, and if you only watch wrestling, you don't really watch football. These are big names in football. They're big names, huge names. I mean, Mike Singletary. Mike Singletary was a very good. I mean, he was a great player.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best linebackers ever.
Yeah, I mean, and they're directly aiming them in the places that people know them the most, and they did it perfect. I mean, they have Orlando, they have Tempe, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Utah, San Antonio, Texas, San Diego, California, Memphis, Tennessee. They're hitting the spots that the XFL had to get to. And they're already there.
So real fast, you're saying like a year early that you're going. Do you think the AAL or whatever the heck is the AAF is going to run into the same issue the XFL did by trying to jam this in there quickly before?
No, because the XFL got announced after the AAF.
Did it? No, I thought the AAF got announced before.
No, the AAF, when they announced it, I'm pretty sure they were already in the works for a while. They just didn't announce it until they were ready to start announcing teams and shit like that. Where the XFL announced it about a year before they were ready to announce teams.
Okay.
So I think that was the difference, was the AAF already... They were putting everything into place before announcing it, where the XFL was basically a blank slate announcing it. And I think the XFL purposely did it because of the AAF.
Well, I think they also had to do it too because McMahon sold all that stock. Like you can't.
So people knew something was coming.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that would have been a negative effect in the on the WWE side if they didn't know what was actually what he was pulling that money out for. So wrestling tie-in, like, again, this is a very hard like topic to discuss like as a wrestling podcast. Because we could talk about the football, like Mike said, like Ficco's probably, well, the both of you are pretty big football fans. I'm pretty big too, but just not as knowledgeable as you guys. I can beat you both in Madden, that's about it. But the wrestling side of things.
Just wait, Walt. Just wait till the next Madden comes out for PC.
Yeah, and I'll whip your ass in it, don't worry.
Yeah.
But what, so what tie-in do you think? So it seemed like in the press conference, McMahon said there's going to be no tie-in with WWE, completely separate. Do you think that what tie-in do you think they should have then? Because we saw how much the original XFL failed because of that wrestling tie-in. Where do you think they should do an actual tie-in? I'll go first real fast. They should move Jonathan Coachman off Raw and over to the XFL immediately. Do it fucking now. Get him off of Raw.
Do you hate Jonathan Coachman that much, huh?
He's just announcing is terrible. And I think he might actually be a decent fit over...
Oh, he was good. I thought he was good on ESPN. He was on SportsCenter for a while.
I thought he was great on ESPN. And that's why I'm thinking, like, if you do a tie-in like that, move him over to the XFL side and have him be the lead post-game analysis, or what the hell's the one guy on Fox?
He could be like Barkan.
Yeah, Barkan.
He could be like your Barkan.
I was gonna say he could be the what is it, the Red Zone guy?
Sean Hansen. Yeah.
Greatest job in America.
Scott Hansen.
Same thing.
My dad would be so upset right now that I didn't know it and you called him Sean.
Well, I knew it was an S.
But he could be that guy. He could be that guy sitting back at the studio talking at halftime. But yeah, the one thing they can do, and I don't know if they're going to have any shot at this because of the NFL on Fox, is possibly try to swing FS1.
I think
at the very least talk.
Is it announced where I know like the AFL or whatever you want to call it, that's going to be on CBS and the CBS network. But is the XFL have a TV thing yet or no?
I don't believe so.
No, nothing was announced. McMahon said he was going to use digital distribution for it. Excuse me. So things like Amazon, Facebook, Hulu, kind of, and I was a big fan of that. I think that's a really good idea to way to distribute this. I don't think, because of the Fox deal, it kind of changes it a little bit. But I don't know if you're going to get a TV presence with this.
Well, it goes back to what. Sorry, Mike. It goes back to what Mike and I were just like arguing about 10 minutes ago. Was who are you trying to appeal to? If you're trying to appeal to WWE fans, how far do you go down that road? If you're trying to appeal to football fans because football's over and the Eagles win Super Bowl 53 and we're, back-to-back Super Bowl champs, holla at your boy, and then football's over.
Let's go Birds.
That's right. Are they trying to bring those fans in just with really good football? Or, like Mike said, the other league is probably, has all those big names, and they're probably going to have better players. So, like, it's kind of like a toss-up in the middle. Like, how far do you go down that WWE road of involving that at all? I really don't know.
And that's the problem is he kind of painted himself in the corner with that press conference.
Yeah, because he said nothing about it. Yeah, he said he didn't want anything with the WWE.
He said, it's not WWE. It's going to be gimmick free. It's going to be the real football you deserve. Blah, 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 blah. Guess what? People will watch the exact NFL rules if they know some of the players and they know the coaches.
Yep.
If they know the teams, if they know some of the announcers. They're going to watch that a hell of a lot more than they are with now third-tier players. It's not second-tier now because the AAF a year earlier got to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're going to have to try paying them more. So now you're going to try poaching players and all this other stuff. Honestly, the best thing they could have done, put this shit on the fucking network.
Are we getting into football territories? We going back old school?
Wrestling territories?
That's what's going to come out.
Yeah,
of
like
this.
wrestling territories.
That's what's going to come out of this. That's the only way that Vince is going to be able to succeed here.
Yeah.
Is guess what? Pay Steve Spurrier more money to come coach for me.
Yeah.
He just won a championship in the AAF in season 3 of the XFL. We brought him over. We paid him double. He's now coach here.
Yeah, but here
that's what he's going to have to do.
What's Steve Spurrier doing in the XFL zone?
Exactly.
But here's my thing:
Steve...
are both leagues already to shit because the end game is trying to be like the NFL? But like the NFL, if you compare it, is like how the WWE, how Vince McMahon bought all those territories already, or bought them already, but bought them all and became the WWE. Like, how to me, like the NFL is already like that. They have all this stuff with like the suspensions and all that stuff, and people hate them and yada yada yada.
But there's a difference. Is the XFL and the AAF are both going to be played in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
They're both purposely being that football when the NFL is not being played. So they're not in competition.
All right, but my question would be, okay, let's talk about the draft. What are you watching? An AFL game, AF whatever it is, or XFL game, or watch an NFL draft? I'm going to watch NFL draft, and football fans are going to watch NFL draft.
Well, that's the thing.
I can tell you one thing: their games won't be being played.
Yeah,
during the NFL draft, neither one of them are stupid. And if it won't be a televised game.
But if you're going to be on, in the spring. That's the spring. The NFL is the draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
When's the draft again? Normally, what
it's the end of April. NFL draft. If you're talking about having football in the spring, you're not going to have football on a Saturday night just because the NFL draft's on.
Yeah, you do your Pro Bowl that
week. The NFL draft's not on Saturday night.
Or Saturday afternoon.
That thing's done by Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, but
that's but Vic, you're comparing it too much to the NFL. They're going to play maybe one game a week on TV, or air one game a week. They're not air. There's only 8 teams, and I'm pretty sure XFL is doing the same thing with 8 teams.
Yeah, I think so.
They're not going to show 4 games a week. They're going to show 1.
Well,
and it's going to be prime time. Like
one game on
8:00 Saturday night.
One game on a major channel, possibly. The rest of the games will be on the digital partner. So, like an Amazon or like a Facebook or like I see Facebook to keep trying to tie this into wrestling and not go too far down the football hole. The Mixed Match Challenge, when that was run on Facebook, that was apparently a very big success in Facebook's eyes. It got a lot of eyes to Facebook, to their new watch program or platform. It was really the first one. So WWE McMahon has a good partnership probably already with that. I think they're talking about doing another one. I really liked how that setup worked, kind of. It was annoying that it was on Facebook just because, like, I don't watch Facebook on a TV. I look at it on my phone. And that's going to be a bad way to watch, like, a football game. But because of that partnership there, that's where you're going to have like maybe so if it's 8 teams, you're doing 4 games a week. Your one game is going to be maybe on FS1 or FS2 or something like that on actual TV Saturday night. And then your other games are going to play throughout Saturday afternoon on Facebook. You turn on Facebook to watch the game there. That's how they're going to quote unquote succeed. To start off, just kind of start off slow instead of trying to go full head of steam in, like they kind of did with the original XFL.
Yeah, I kind of feel like what Mike said earlier too. Like they'll probably start off what you said with like the Facebook live, like or whatever. But eventually, he's probably going to have to put it on the network because it's probably no one's going to watch it unless it's on something that they're already paying for. So, like, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
That's why it's going to stay away from the network, I think, because I think he's going to get a partnership with other digital streaming platforms to do it. Like, I don't see, unless the league folds, I don't see this coming to the WWE network.
Yeah.
You know what would actually be great for it, the more everybody's talking now, is to almost, like you said, you have Facebook kind of stream it, do this, whatever, and have, I guess, a quote-unquote season on, like, Netflix, something like that. If they could somehow partner with that, where they're not watching it live, but they are watching a season's worth, you can kind of go back and watch it. It's obviously something that can't be done right away. They might not make it to season 2 to even be able to do something like that. But if they can partner with something like that, where people are like, well, I missed it. Well, let me go watch it. And if the product's good enough, you might get people later on.
Mm-hmm. Well, you still need a live aspect to it, and not just the one game. One game. So like, if Netflix is fine with, hey, air this game every Saturday night. This game's going to air live. Not the entire season like Netflix does, but then it's just backlogged in the catalog until it's done. You still need that live aspect for people to like get together, group up to watch the game.
Doesn't Lucha Underground do that?
Lucha Underground's on Netflix.
Yeah, but isn't that like after the season's over and then they put the whole season on?
Yeah. But I think
you can watch it live, right? I don't know. I don't know enough about Lucha Underground. But that's what I'm saying. You have the live games on Facebook, with whoever you partner with. You have the one on TV. You have it on Facebook. But at the end of the year, you just kind of almost partner with Hulu or Netflix or whoever, and you kind of have the whole season on there.
I think that would be good.
Because it'll help them for the future.
Yeah, I also was going to say too, like how they do the Hard Knocks on HBO, right? With all the teams every year.
Oh my god, a WWE 24/7 on like a football team.
That's
what
I was thinking too. But I don't know if you guys know either. They do the same thing on Amazon Video. They've done 2 seasons. They did last year with the Cowboys, which just got released. I think like this week or in the next week. And I actually watched the one. It was I think it was 2 years ago, 16, when they did the Arizona Cardinals. All right, so Amazon also does this, like, it's all off of Hard Knocks, but if the XFL did something like that where they followed, let's say, like, the first team that was announced or whatever, and, they followed them around behind the scenes and they released it, whether it be on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, okay, I think that would be something to bring more people in also, because I watch all those things. I watch Hard Knocks.
If the XFL, from the minute, like, if they've been recording all of the stuff, all like the meetings and all that stuff, like to kind of broadcast that up. And then leading up to that first game, you do a 10-week documentary somewhere on here's how this league was formed. Yep. You go from your first episode is the Vince McMahon press conference. And then from there, you just roll that out, a 2-year building platform. I think that would add that kind of like WWE storyline aspect to it that like might drive some people in, but not make it overly cheesy like the WWE product can be sometimes. You tie that in, and then when the season starts, you go into the football side. But then every year, you keep that up in a Hard Knocks type style. Maybe not just follow a team, but because it's only going to be like 8 teams to the beginning and stuff like that, show the backstage politics. Show the owners' meetings. Have like a live cam of like the owners' meetings to see what like the rule changes, the votes, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like could you imagine like a live feed of the owners' meeting on like Facebook where you just go in there?
Oh, I would watch the
and
shit
they
out.
have somebody almost like reading off
right
comments and shit like that. Like, but that's where they have to be like the WWE. Like, what's the one thing WWE does better than anybody else?
Video production.
Exactly. Could you imagine if they put the kind of effort they do in their video production for pay-per-views and for feuds into just the first game of the year?
It would be unparalleled.
With having all this coverage, having all this video from all these practices and all this stuff, they have to put that kind of effort into it. It doesn't have to be cheesy. They don't need to put ropes around the field to make this like wrestling, but they need that in there. They can't just be about football, because unfortunately the NFL already does that pretty good, and the AAF has the names. They need something that distinguishes them apart.
They need a gimmick.
Unfortunately, their WWE-ness is what can distinguish them apart from them. And I'm not saying put, where's he from? Don't make them the Boston Cenas or anything with John Cena's logo on their uniform, but you can make it in somewhat WWE without being cheesy.
I don't know if you can, though, because you might actually get into, like, technically copyright. Like, it's probably easy to do since McMahon owns both of them, but...
No, I said don't do that.
Oh, don't do that. I thought you said do.
I said don't put Cena's logo on a jersey. No,
you realize though every like, so Cena's logo. Do you retire 54 at the beginning of the season then? I'd do that.
Why not do stuff
what
like
was the
that?
Rock's number?
Why not?
What was the Rock's number? What was his number in Miami?
94, I think.
That sounds about right.
But like, why not? Why not have Cena's next color scheme be one of the XFL's teams? Why not sell shirts that kind of look like the XFL shirts?
Yeah.
Yep, 94.
Like, they don't have to look exact, but why not? Why not have them? Why not reference it on an episode of Raw? You know, they can somewhat be interrelated and not be too far.
What happens if we got gimmick Rapster John Cena back, which would be great, and instead of wearing like throwback like Sixers jerseys, Celtics jerseys, Pistons jerseys, stuff like that, whatever city he was in, he wore the throwback XFL jersey.
That'd be cool.
That would be pandering to the fans.
Cassius Ohno could do that now.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I figured. Oh well, no, Mike. To Fico's credit, he probably knows him as Chris Hero.
Nope. Not at all.
He did not go to high school with you, if that's who.
He did not go to high school. I don't get that joke.
They can work it some kind of like interrelated. Like, why not?
So here's the thing. So
I know it sounds really dumb, and I don't know how much of this Rock owns or WWE. Why not make a team the Miami Brahma Bulls? Like, why not?
Well, no. So here's the thing. So take a step back from that. McMahon in that press conference said no tie-in with WWE. He goes back against that, and they do a tie-in with WWE. To me, that league's already lost a lot of credibility.
Exactly. That's why I said he painted himself into a corner with that press conference. Yeah. Like, could you imagine the Austin, Texas, like, Stunners?
The Rattlesnakes, Stunners. Mike, come on.
Well, the Texas Rattlesnakes.
Might be harder from the get.
Come on.
Yeah. Let's go up here.
But either way, like, they can fit it with things that people know. You know, the Hollywood Hogans.
I definitely rock. I would rock that jersey.
Their helmets have that fake ass cheesy black beard with the little yellow.
Oh my god.
Face.
Yeah, you know what though? That'd be great.
Yeah, but then how mad would you be is when the Tommy Maddox of the new XFL is running down the field to score the game-winning touchdown to win the championship. Defender comes up, finger poke of doom, and he just falls and fumbles the ball. All right, how mad would you be if that happened?
Hashtag go Birds.
It distinguishes them from
Someone
the
comes
NFL,
out with a goddamn
all right?
taser, and Vince Russo's it all over that XFL thing, and just destroys it.
Why not have a tournament at the beginning of the year for a Money in the Bank contract, and a team could just come in at the championship game and take over, and just finish the game at
That'd be
halftime?
hilarious.
Like, why can't they do that?
Now, I have a question for both of you guys about this. Like, you know how he's trying to avoid the whole WWE thing, but like, why do you think he even wanted to do this again after it failed so miserably the first time? Do you think he has something to prove by just trying to start a league again? Like, to me it just came out of the woodwork. Like, here's the XFL again. We're going to try to do it right this time. But like, why? Like, he's in the 70s, right? Like, he should be close to retiring. Like, why is he even doing this?
It's his work ethic. The one thing I always read about Vince McMahon is he is always working, and it seems like he's one of those guys to where if he's going to ask you to do something, he's right there doing it with you. And he has such high expectations, so he's always working. And I think he saw the XFL as a failure, and he wanted to get it right, because if you look at it, McMahon I don't want to say hasn't failed at much, but like, he's been pretty successful through most of his ventures that he's done. There's not a whole lot of failures, and like, obviously, like, he put together all the territory systems basically under one umbrella and bought all of them up. He bought his biggest rival. He started getting into movies and TV shows and stuff like that, and those haven't been the booming successes, but he developed an actual star in The Rock. Cena's a somewhat household name now, so he's having all these successes. The one big thing on his resume that has always kind of been seen as the failure is the XFL. Mm-hmm. And you're right, he's old enough to where he has fuck you money galore.
Sure
and
does.
He just took $100 million out, could be $500 million or whatever like that, to build this league up and try to do it right. The thing is, he's not going to take a hit. It's not like he's going bankrupt and WWE is going to go bankrupt or anything like that because of how he separated it. So it's more so him just trying to show that his one biggest failure he can make right.
Mm-hmm.
I also fully believe that he was a little offended that the Ebersols were starting this other league. I think because you know what would have happened if that becomes a success without the XFL. Then it was Vince McMahon's fault. It wasn't both of their faults.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's I do think it's a bit of an ego trip.
Oh, of course.
On his part, I think. Like I said, it's funny because you said the announcing of them. I don't know. XFL might even announce it first, but it's funny how the AAF already had cities. Like, they've been working on this for a while, where the XFL was like, oh shit, we gotta just say, hey, we're doing this now. We can't be quiet about it for a year and get our ducks in a row because they have to compete with them. But I purely think isn't it kind of weird that 30 for 30 came out and then both of these leagues got announced not that long
no,
after?
that's the only that's the only reason why the 30 for 30 got okayed to do.
And what, that 30 for 30 was produced by
Wasn't it Eversol's son? Yeah.
Who is one of the big fixtures in the AAF.
Mm-hmm.
So, Vince might have found out while they were doing it, got a hint of what they were doing and was like, all right, nope, we got to hurry up and get there before them. I'm not going to be the reason why this failed.
Yeah. I do like the idea of territory football systems.
How
that would be awesome.
Does that sound?
That would be good.
Oh, man.
All right, well, to kind of, I don't want to go too football-ish in it, but I'm going to a little bit. I know they said they want to kind of keep it like football. I'm trying to look at the questions here that they posted on their Instagram.
Like about the rules and stuff?
Because, Yeah, I know I sent you screenshots of them. I'm trying to look for something.
Yeah, I didn't look at them.
Well, of course you didn't, Walton. You're a poor producer and host. God damn it. Yeah, drink your water.
How would you structure it? Like,
It's
in the
very hot
weirdest
out.
way, and I'll go off of, I won't even go off the questions a little bit. Do you think, what's the biggest thing about football in both your eyes? The biggest thing, the thing that attracts most people to watching football.
To me, it's excellent quarterback play, and I'm glad we have one.
Now I'm not saying that makes football good. I'm more saying, like, a random person. What makes Walton watch football more than he would?
For me, honestly, this is part of it too. Is the way it's presented. Like, it's all day Sunday in the winter.
Once a week. Yep.
All day. I can throw it on as soon as I wake up, especially now when you get the London games. Throw it on at 9:30 in the morning since I'm old now and have to wake up at 5:30. So I'm up. So I'm like, I can throw this on. And then, the quarterback plays great. Like, I love seeing a good running back. Like, seeing a running back juke between tackles. That's...
Now, I was hinting at something neither one of you has actually touched on.
Well, why don't you explain it for us, Mike?
I thought you were going to answer it. Fantasy football.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if the XFL was smart, and I'm assuming the AAF is going to jump on this too, that should be like your prime.
I
thing.
I think McMahon said that fantasy is going to be heavily involved. I thought
like you need like the player of the week decided by fantasy points. Like, players out there purposely trying to get fantasy points in the middle of a game because that might bring them one step closer to MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even kind of toyed around a little bit in my mind, and I think that it starts to make it a little bit too out there.
Then you...
Well, I was going to say the scoring system of a game the same way that fantasy scored.
That would be insane.
You can't.
But then that goes back to the whole thing about, are you getting too WWE-ish on that? Like, I'm not saying it's WWE per se, but now you're going a little bit too much out of the box in that aspect because.
Well, that's why I said the scoring system was just kind of something I was toying around my head. But I don't know why you can't say, like.
So
in the middle of a game, why the graphic isn't just showing what his fantasy score is, and not that he has 98 yards.
Oh well, the NFL's already been doing that anyway at live games.
Yeah, you could do that. You can get all that stuff at the stadium.
Yeah,
in an NFL game.
Yeah, you can. But I'm talking about like on the screen. Like, I don't give a fuck that he has 11 catches. I care that he's giving me 20 fantasy points.
Well, the problem is that it depends on your league, though. Like you can't necessarily do that because
our league is 1.5 points, and I'm in another league where it's not a point per catch because the Casa brothers don't like that. You know what I mean? So,
well, if you start only showing it on TV, you're almost kind of forced to play that way.
I
don't know. I was just trying to think of other stuff because that's the one thing, and I know the NFL's gotten more into it, but the NFL could give two shits.
I think here's where I think.
You're right.
Here's where I think WWE is going to succeed, I think, is in, again, and we said it earlier, their video productions. Like, the way they're able to produce and present the show is how they're going to make this thing a success. The WWE video packages for wrestling, for, like, wrestlers, like, WrestleMania, I love the video packages they put together for the matches, like, just hyping it up. They do a great job explaining it. Hell, the one like the Sami Zayn Nakamura match that we saw take over Dallas, that's one of my favorite intro packages just because of it showed Nakamura's kind of rise. Obviously, they couldn't show everything like from his New Japan side, but it kind of gave a great example of who this guy was that was coming in for the first time. You do that with some of these quarterbacks and running backs and some of your main stars on teams that the WWE can, like, if they can somehow shift over that production to that, but I don't know if you'll be able to because you're going to need two separate teams because you can't pull the WWE video producer guy off of Monday Night Raw to go do an XFL game because then he's not doing Raw and then Raw shits the bed.
Yeah, you're also going to be introducing players that no one's ever even heard of before. So
Tim Tebow. Everyone knows Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow is...
They're not
Tim
getting.
Tebow.
Tim
Relax.
Tebow is going to be your first overall pick in the XFL draft. You heard it here first.
I'll side bet you that, like you're at a little side bet with Peachy.
All right.
All right.
The same bet?
Same bet, yeah.
I have a feeling me and Ficco will fulfill the bet before me and Peachy do.
Well,
Can I actually get in on this bet, Walt?
Yeah, sure.
Because I
Or Mike, how about we just make it a double?
remember
double
how
dip here,
we felt.
and Walton could just take us both to lunch.
Remember how we felt when Peachy said this about Rousey? That's how I feel right now. With
Listen.
this about Tebow.
I'm being straight obnoxious about that statement, but the fight, like, all joking aside, Tim Tebow is the exact player Vince McMahon, the way he presented it, wants for this league.
Well, Tim Tebow had, arguably his most success in college, right?
Yes.
Playing for Florida under Steve Spurrier, who is now the Florida coach in the other league. He's already told Tebow that he's got anything he wants on their starting quarterback job, and Tim Tebow said, "No, I'm good. I'm playing baseball." I'm pretty sure he's not jumping to that.
I just want to say also, Tim Tebow has more playoff wins than Dax Prescott.
That's right.
Just want to throw that out there.
That's correct.
See, what the NFL, not the NFL, the XFL should do is they should hold an open draft and draft the rights to these fucking players.
Sure.
Have a week-long draft. I don't care. Draft the rights to fucking Carson Wentz. You know what I mean? And just have them sitting there. Have a 400 long like draft rights. Like let's say have like a 10 round.
Mike, it could just be like the drafts that we used to do on playing video games. You do a whole draft.
But that's
you do a whole draft for like an hour. I mean, this would be obviously not in. It would be a week, like you're saying, and then redraft again or whatever. But you got like 8 teams, so you got all these players and stuff. It would, if you put it anywhere on a live stream, people are going to watch it. I know I'm in. Like you just suck me in.
But that's let's say, and I'm exaggerating with the week long thing, but why not have the first 10 rounds be only draft rights, or the last 10 rounds only be draft rights?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like, ooh, this team holds on to this guy's rights. It's meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. But they're not bringing names in anyway. So why the fuck not do it?
Yeah.
It's not like they
Here's
can't
the only
do it.
thing-
They absolutely can do that. They absolutely can do that.
The only thing I don't know is, and this is where, like, I think they could bring in big names because of money. Like, I think Vince McMahon has enough money that he can pay people to where I don't know if the AFF will.
I think the AFF probably has just as much money back in it.
Well, this is the thing. It might have as much money backing it now. Right now, it's just Vince McMahon backing the XFL. If McMahon decides to get partnered up, let's go crazy. Let's do a heel turn. Maybe when oh my God, why can't I think of his name?
Yeah, that guy you're talking about.
Yeah, this is gonna kill me, and you're gonna laugh when I say his name.
Mark Cuban.
No, he pulls a heel turn. McMahon partners up with Roger Goodell when Goodell gets fired from the NFL, and they blow the league up.
Oh Jesus!
It'd be like when McMahon hugged Bischoff on that Monday Night Raw episode. Mike, you look so disgusted with me right now.
Goodell. Let's say in some fantasy world this happens, right? Goodell would go to the AAF before the XFL.
But not if McMahon can pay him.
If McMahon can pay him more, Walton's right. Just saying. And who has more money, McMahon or this other league? Probably McMahon.
I'm saying.
All right.
I'm saying.
1 year in. Hold on. 1 year in. AAF has ratings.
Correct.
They're killing the XFL in their year 2 in ratings. Vince starts throwing more money at this. Is Roger Goodell going to go to a league that might not last 2 more weeks? Or to a league that's already pretty much established and now they're getting momentum behind them?
Yeah, but Goodell can go to the XFL.
I'll take a 5-year contract at half the money where I think I'm actually going to get paid that money than have Vince say, "I'll give you a 100-year contract at $1 billion a year," and then he stops paying them after week 2 because they already lost all their sponsors and Vince McMahon died.
Wow. So is that how the XFL ends? Vince McMahon's death?
There it is.
Is this the limit? Is this
Funeral live on
Actually
TV.
finish?
Is this the limousine?
They're going to
blowing up?
finish the angle that happened right before the Benoit controversy. And yes, I just fit his name in this again. And Greg wanted nothing to do with it last week when we brought his name up.
Oh, I'll talk about Benoit.
Finally, we will. No, I don't want to talk about Benoit. We'll finally find out where the WWE was going when they had Vince McMahon die in that limo, because they're just going to randomly. You see it here. It's their championship game. He's coming out for halftime. And before he gets out of his limo, it explodes. And they just stopped the game. And now you wait a year to find out what happens in the second half. It's one big, long cliffhanger. Is Vince McMahon alive? And who won the championship?
So here's a question towards that first XFL championship game. Is it Flo Rida performing at halftime?
No, it's before. Before and halftime.
Flo Rida, I'm pretty sure will.
Where the hell did this conversation go?
This is a wrestling podcast. This is what we do, Vic.
It's a wandering road.
Not heard any of the other
I've listened to
episodes.
every episode. I'm probably the only one because I'm your main listener.
There is no structure to
That's
what
true.
we do here.
That's true. That's why I like.
We try to keep it loose.
All right. Well, I don't know what you guys want to talk about next, but the first thing I thought of that we didn't talk about yet at all was like the rules of the game. I know we're really talking about football now in general, but like back then they didn't have a kicker, which I liked, and I also read, and I forgot about this too. They did start overtime like college, which I think how all football should be done, because I think kickoffs and all that stuff are just, and field goals are a waste of time anymore. So like, what do you guys think about like what rules should they, let's say, take from the NFL or take from when they had the XFL before, and how they, because like I said, you're trying to bring in people to watch this. Like, how close of it to the NFL does it have to be for people to watch? When it comes
Honestly,
to the rules?
you're not going to hear what the rules are, I would say, until, so if it's coming, let's say it's coming February 2020.
Yeah.
Realistically, just after that. You're probably not going to know the rules until, I would say, that November of 2019. Just because I think what they're going to do is they're going to let the NFL play out their rules, AAF play out their rules, and hear what the fan criticisms are, and then adopt those as their rules to the game.
Sure.
They're going to. I think they're going to do the college style overtime. I think they're not bringing back the scramble for the ball type thing. They'll probably do a coin flip for that. I don't see them doing anything real different with that. If it's anything else, like I think you're going to keep the no extra point, but you have to go for a 2-point conversion. I think I read something with the previous XFL, like I could see them doing a 3-point conversion. Like if you have to start back at like the 35-yard line or something like that. I can see that's where it's going to change. But other than that, I don't, unless it's very nuancical things, you're not,
Is that a word? Spell that for us, Juan.
Did you just combine nuance and
That's what it sounded like. Oh, that's a good one. I'll have to remember that.
Oh, man. Whatever. But you know what I mean. But I think they're going to just have very small rule changes. I don't think it's going to be anything mind-blowing.
Yeah, I don't see that either. I wanted to hear what Michael. What do you think about that? Like, what rules?
If they were smart, which I think they're doing right now, they're polling the fans, but they would get the most exciting things, and I'm saying from every sport that there is, and find a way to associate that with this league. The overtime has to be college overtime. Has to be.
Yeah.
College overtime.
It's the best. I love it. It's
I would watch them play. I would watch them play a full game of just college overtime. Like
sure.
I would. I would if they just did each team gets 10 tries here, and then it's sudden death at the end if the game's tied. In the weirdest way possible, I want to see almost the complete opposite of what they did with the fighting for the ball at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I want to see something similar, and it's probably going to sound stupid as I'm saying it out loud, to a shootout. Like, you almost got
essentially
two
mini
guys,
games, mini camp.
Yeah, well, like to start the game, like maybe say for a kickoff or something like that, you put 3 guys on the defensive side, and one guy starts off with the ball, and he just runs, and he just tries to outrun 3 guys. No blockers, no anything. Mm-hmm. It's just something like that where it's making it a little bit more exciting. But to be honest with you, as much as they could do stuff like that, it's probably going to be what Walton said. They'll do exactly what the AAF is doing, plus college overtime, which probably AAF's probably already going to do. But yeah, I don't. Like I said, he painted himself in no corner. He said this is going to be a no gimmick thing, mm-hmm. and the only thing that's going to distinguish him from things is going to be gimmicks. So if you're telling me you're giving me no gimmick football, you can't do any of that stuff. I'm not even talking about it. This is WWE unrelated. You can't make gimmicky stuff now because you've already sworn to everybody this is going to be no gimmick, pure football, the right way. So you can't do that stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just feel like the NFL has so many people pulled in, and with I know people complain about some of the stuff that they do. And it really all goes back to Goodell and stuff and the owners and all that. But, like, even the AAF, I just feel like that's probably going to fail, too. Just because, the NFL, that's all the elite players. I don't see anybody elite ever, you want to talk about, like, jumping brands back in the day. You want to tie this back into wrestling. I don't see anybody like that ever, jumping shit because they're going to get paid more in the NFL anyway. So it's not like...
This is like a guy. What was it like? Kurt Warner? Didn't he play for the CFL? Before?
Yeah, he was Canadian football, or was it that and Arena Mike, or did he? I thought he played both.
But I
know before he was bagging groceries in the grocery store, but I think it might have been. I think it was Arena actually.
I think that I know, but Kurt Warner was that I think that's exactly, but more so what you're going to get is that you're going to get players that are not that great. You're going to get a John Bauman. John Bauman's going to go play for the Philadelphia AAF team.
Well, no, but what you could possibly get, and this year kind of seen it, and I think if one of these leagues were established already, you could see a guy like Lamar Jackson being like, "Don't draft me. I'm going to play quarterback there.
Yeah.
I don't want to play wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm not going. You know what I mean? Like Terrell Pryor was basically run out of the league, and then he got forced into turning into a wide receiver after all of his options were gone. Like, you're going to always have guys
same thing
like
with
that.
Tebow. Like, Tebow, they said, you're only going to come back if you're a fullback or a tight end. And he was like, nah, I'll go play baseball because, I love Jesus and I got money anyway, so who cares?
And that's, like, even, like, Manziel, what, he went to the CFL, right?
Yeah, he's in the CFL, yeah.
And he's a backup there. Mm-hmm. But and this is where the whole can't have any, arrest or anything is going to screw him. If he was like, we'll pay you $150,000, you're guaranteed to be a starter. Just come here and be the face of our league. Mm-hmm. People know him. Right then and there, people are going to watch because you either want to see him play because he's exciting, or you want to see him fail. And they're not going to see him fail if he's a backup in the CFL.
That's right.
Yeah. So, with that, we'll kind of wrap it up with that kind of statement. So, Ficco, are you excited for 2020?
Of course, my friend. I'm excited for every football and football league. Why not? More football, the better than me. So.
I was going to ask who was on it. I thought you were talking about the show.
I hate you. Nah, Mike, you gonna watch it?
Am I gonna watch it?
Yeah.
Who knows what we'll be doing in 2 years anyway? Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, listen. I'll probably try. I will probably try.
Where will
Well, hold on.
you
I
be?
hope we're at a point in our life where we can all still sit down and just watch something on TV.
Yeah, I know.
That
I'm
our
just
lives
saying.
haven't changed that drastically.
You know what? Well, I looked at my schedule. I'm pretty sure I got work that night, but I will watch the replay the next morning.
Okay, good.
Like, I'm sure I'll watch. The first couple games of the XFL and the AAF, just because football, NFL is going to be over, and it's going to be something on, whatever kind of streaming or TV I can watch it on, just to see who's playing in it and just to see how the game is. But will I continue every week? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think. I'm hoping it doesn't fall off. I hope it actually kind of sticks, just to get another football league in there. Be a nice. It'd be nice after the off season to be like actual football, not like arena football.
Yeah, what they need to do is the very first draft, have everybody show up, and have them play like one big game of like beer pong, and they get to pick what team they want to go to. Get the fans excited for real football.
Just play like 12-on-12 flip cup, Mike. Fuck it.
Yeah, have them play.
Yeah.
Have them play flip cup. Have them pick their team, and then have them drive home. They all get DUIs, and then they're ineligible for the league anyway. That sounds perfect.
And they all could be hungover like you the next day, Walt. I'm just happy. I'm just happy you did an episode with me, and you're not hungover, man. I appreciate that.
I broke tradition. I'm sorry.
Can I give a couple shout outs here? First off, I want to shout out.
Yeah, man. So we were gonna give you some plugs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how
like that.
you guys always end up, wrapping it up kind of weird, and I blame Walton for most of it anyway. But
Yeah, I blame Walton too.
Thanks. I want to thank Peachy for being in Italy, so I could take a spot this week. Thanks you two for having me on. I appreciate it. And a shout out to Greg Hall, who was on last week. I listened to the episode. The big dog is always eating over here, and I appreciate him giving me a couple shout outs last week on the podcast. So go listen to him on We Podcast and other things. I actually started listening to him last night. And keep listening to the boys on here, because they do a great job. So thanks for having me on, guys.
I can't tell if you're making me blush or it's because I don't have the air running in my office.
Probably a mixture of both.
I probably should have asked this. Well, thank you, Fick. Yeah, I
hope I can come back on, man. Love it.
I know you're more talking to me and not to me and Walton, but it's okay. I probably should have asked this before this episode started, and I'm going to ask during the episode because this is what we do. When are we posting this?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday? Okay. Well, for those out there, in case like Vince McMahon decides to put $500,000 more, $500 million more.
I'll put a little disclaimer in the beginning of this episode.
Between today and Tuesday, I will warn you. We normally record Sunday night. Now, Greg, when Ficco said was last week, Greg was about 2-3 days ago, because it's actually Wednesday morning right now, 4th of July. So, in the off chance that something crazy happens with the XFL in the next 4 or 5 days, we didn't know. So I had to put that little disclaimer out there now.
I'll put a little disclaimer in the beginning of the episode, Mike. Don't worry.
Yeah, just in case they decide to tell all the rules on Friday.
We won't edit this out to show the thought creation process.
Yes. Thank you.
So, anything else you want to bring up, Fico? Anything you got going on? How are the Phillies doing this season?
Phillies are doing great. I expected to make a couple moves at the trade deadline, and I should be working my first playoff game this year down there.
I'll be down there for that.
Yeah, man.
So, but Mike, you got anything else you want to close out with?
I'm not going to say what, but we are super excited about the possibility of something happening. I will throw that little teaser in there. We can at least do that much. Because if it doesn't happen, who cares? Nobody listens to this part of the episode anyway.
Nah, they listen.
We are very
people listen to my
excited.
awkward sign off. All right.
Yeah, that's actually. Some people probably start at the episode here.
Just to get it over faster.
We are very, very, very excited about the possibility of something happening. That's as much as we can say. But yeah, I'm excited. We actually literally minutes before we start this episode, we got what could possibly be good news. So as we find out more and we solidify things, I'm sure that the people who listen and the people who will be listening at the time this happens will be excited too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So next episode, we're back to. I think we'll be back to normalcy. Peachy will be back, providing all of his insight.
Why couldn't you just say back to normal?
That's because I got to try to spice it up a little bit.
Okay, you're in your
little-
Neapolical whatever. Okay.
It's a good popsicle brand.
Now, Walt, have we stayed on episode 20? Peachy's getting shot, or we don't know yet?
We'll talk to him next week, because next week will be episode 19.
Okay. I mean, at 20 really, it should have been episode 10, to be honest with you.
I think probably
this thing happened like in episode 4.
Yeah. So,
but
that's what
I will make sure this gets mentioned every single
that will
week
be our first YouTube
until
post.
it happens.
And please let me know when this happens, because I would like to be either in person or
A FaceTime call?
FaceTime call or whatever. Even if it's on a phone call on speaker, I would like to hear that.
Now, my plan for this episode is for me to be recording while it's happening, giving the play-by-play.
Oh, listen.
And listening to any screaming or Walton crying while he's shooting
For reference, for those knowing, I'm going to have at least drone footage, a 360 camera footage, as well as some GoPro. I might have a couple GoPros set up to get everything. We're doing this right, people.
Yeah.
That's going to be
We're
fantastic.
putting all this money, that we get paid to do this is going right into
We get
this
paid
one
money?
show, this one episode.
We get paid money?
I got a check today.
I do.
Time and a half because it was a holiday.
Shit.
What's up?
Maybe my mom put my mail somewhere else that I missed the check.
In case
now all your mail's down here, Walt. I see it.
We're completely kidding.
Yeah.
We are completely kidding. We did not get paid for this.
We paid to do this. Which
just for the couple people that actually believe this, we're joking.
Yeah. So, if there's nothing else, I think we can call that a wrap for this week's episode.
or could we call it quits? Had to get in there.
Can we just stop recording?
Shout out to my boys. Joe Kern, let's go.
I do want to make sure we get this in here because we haven't gotten tickets yet, right?
Well, no, we haven't gotten tickets for All In yet.
All In.
So for those out there,
someone still has to do the research
have extra
into it.
All In tickets. They have extra All In tickets.
Guys, I got 4 of them. I'll take it.
1, 2, or 3. We will pay face value. I mean, that offer. We might go $1 more if it makes you feel.
We'll
better,
pay for shipping.
We'll
pay for shipping.
Yes, we will. We'll pay for shipping. We will gladly take them off your hands because I know they're just those extra ones. They're just not selling. So we'll give you a couple bucks more than what you paid for it. But we want to go. So you got tickets? Give them to us. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So, Ficco, thank you again for joining this week. I appreciate you coming on to talk football, I guess. This is a football-centric podcast episode. But one of them was going to come up. One of us was going to... Us? Is there more of yous? Or?
Well, I just meant all of us together.
Okay.
Thanks for having me with you. Okay. And Michael.
He was speaking to the listening audience.
I was speaking to the listening audience. Because I know Peachy's going to download this and listen to it in Italy. So.
No, he won't because I think he'll be back by the time this goes.
Probably not.
Probably so.
All right. Well, you're wrong.
I'm literally
just remember, Walton,
from the airport.
Remember, Nick Foles beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Okay, go Birds. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Nick Foles, your first XFL.
Your first overall pick.
First overall pick. MVP. The cameras follow him around. There you go.
Yep. So with that being said, thank you everyone for listening. Hope you have a good rest of the week. And with that, we will catch you guys next week. Later.